Ignorance is contagious. Yo, lift your head up, man. I walked into something. The scene, fezzes and turbans, 1913, Moorish Jewish temples in Harlem before conscious stardom. UNIA parade, Garvey dressed Moorish as ever, admirals or amirs, catch them in the whirlwind forever. Before Allah, temple of Islam, gods and earth's nations, knowledge of nationality freed us from plantations, allegations, alterations, transfer ownership, proclamations. Fezzes don't mean Moors cause Congolese amputations, playing on emotions of the people asleep mentally. Still asleep, Drew Ali came over a century ago, although you weren't told seek and find. Knowledge is water for thought seeds in the mind, soil conscience. If constant will exercise demons that haunted your vessel, attempted to get between your temples, go from a Latin man to a devil, plummet to lower levels and actually love it. Lower self junkies acting like troglodyte monkeys, like puppets. Renaissances aren't related to blacks, check the facts. The Moors are who kept ancestral knowledge intact, expressed in videos, books and raps. What you call a tuque into how to call a liberty cap. Freedom is everyone's job, but most abandon their posts. Now their children are diagnosed with multiple distinctive hosts. Plus they given the order to administer dose, looking for salvation from outer, not innermost, as souls crunch like cinnamon toast. The devil's still happy, and stay happy. The message to you ignorant folks: written on the pages is the ageless wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Written on the pages is the ageless wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Written on the pages is the ageless wisdom of the sages. Ignorance is contagious. Ignorance is contagious. Ignorance is contagious. When I listened to Fred Hampton, he wasn't like modern black men. White power for white people, did he mean the Klansmen? Brown power for brown people, did he mean the Brahmin? And I guess all the yellow power is for the Chinamen. I get it, do you? I think not. Brahmin don't call themselves brown, and I don't see yellow anything when I'm in Chinatown. Fezzes up quenching Buddha's thirst, honoring our prophets that gave prophecies to the likes of Nostradamus. The Nostradamus debut #7 on Billboard. Hooded figure on the cover told us we're still Moors. Dougie Fresh, his brother, and Pop knew they not niggas. Even Fru Kwan is a bit, you know, from grave diggers. You made the same mistake politicians have, reaping what you sow, talking all that jazz, and still talking. All I see is zombies walking with their eyes low, with their minds in a screen like Max Headroom show. While you worry about FEMA, I keep my enemies closer, and one eye on dirty Moors and the conscious poser. One hand around the straw man's neck and lower self in a headlock. Vixen stabbed in a crotch, Sucunias get headshots. Jezebels and jack-o'-lanterns lead them astray because some talk BS about kill cracker, never shoved one. Jumbies taking the form of your deceased loved ones, leading you through end of tunnel lights into torture dungeons. Using honey traps against vigilance is some instruments. Propaganda say being more is tied to religiousness, when we are indigenous and bound to the continent. FOH with your flattering manipulative compliments. I have my ancestral confidence from their accomplishments, ancestral confidence from their accomplishments. Return to my foreparents mindset, keeps me competent, not incompetent.
All right, Islam, peace and love to all. I was trying to make a fade, you know, for the music to fade slowly, but it has a relay on it, so, you know, I was pushing it down and it wasn't moving fast enough. Good evening, everyone. Islam, peace and love to all the families. Now, as you know, I see you're on the line here, and you are looking forward to our circle of readers that we have scheduled for today, and we mentioned that. But what we're going to do is something a little bit different, because we only have the last 2 chapters. So we're pushing those last 2 chapters back to next Wednesday, because we have, a back-to-back Wednesday. I believe it's 5 Wednesdays in this month. So we have a back-to-back Wednesday, and we realized that we hadn't discussed anything regarding Thanksgiving on any of the previous recent broadcasts. So what we're actually going to do is play a old recording from a few years back, really, on Thanksgiving. Now, many of you may not have heard it yet, I trust that even if you did, it would be good to hear it again. We actually have two recordings we did on Thanksgiving. One was 2014 and one was 2015. And we are pretty sure it's the 2015 is the one where we like really kind of went all in on the whole meaning, purpose, and true history or not the history of Thanksgiving, you know. But what I think I want to do is, nobody was actually expecting this, so I'm sure you don't have any questions regarding it, because, you know, every year it seems that more and more people have a different awakening to, especially to the holy days. You know, we say holy days because that's where holidays comes from. The word holiday, holy day, it's really holy day that has been bastardized into holiday. And so when you do it that way and you say holiday, you don't even think of the meaning of it. You know, we're talking holistic, we're talking natural law, cosmic law, natural energy, and that's where all of the what we call holidays come from. But now Thanksgiving is interesting because it, you know, all of the cycles of time are related. All of the cycles of seasons are related. So as you come into the fall, as I had mentioned yesterday, you come into, did you reap enough to sustain you through the winter months? As you come into, from the fall, when the sun literally falls in the autumn, or what they call the autumnal equinox, and sometimes you'll hear them say fall, or you'll hear them say autumn, when it's actually on its course and it's going down south. Its energies as it relates to its location to the earth, you know, changes a bit in terms of where it's located and the effects of the proximity of the energy. So then it'll start rising. So then you go into the winter solstice, and it's like, yeah, you know, like, really, did you reap enough? Yeah, you know. So that's the reversing of the energies as it relates cosmically. And you have to ask yourself about, you know, if you have reached enough, not necessarily financially, in all ways, but of course in the line of how you would plant a seed, you know, in the ground, and then you would tend to it or whatever, and then it would, you know, make it through it would grow, and then you would pick it, or you would sow it, reap it, etc., like that. So it's the same thing, but we have to apply it in our thoughts when we recognize that our seed, as it relates to a seed being put in the ground, our seed in the body is a thought, is our thought. That's the seed. So it takes the same, you know, concept for real, you know. And so when the winter solstice comes, don't you think it's a little interesting how the winter solstice being Christmas, how it's actually celebrating the fact that the sun did not stay in that deep, deep place that appears to be where it's standing still and may not move again. At least that's the allegory that they give, and that's the symbolism when it says, you know, the son is born again after they say that Yahshua, or they'll say Jesus was, you know, dead for 3 days. Well, isn't it interesting, people, that story about him being in a tomb for 3 days is actually associated and related to natural occurrences as it appears to with the travels of the sun, which appears to, and it's described as the sun, I'm talking S-U-N sun, as going into a place where it appears to not be moving or standing still. It's really what you call retrograde for like 3 days, and then it seems to rise and move, takes movement. Now, don't you think it's interesting, because it is all really tied together? So as we get here to things, and then that's coming for Christmas, but as we get for Thanksgiving, it's about giving thanks to, first you better say, did I reap enough? Or check yourself. Check your inventory. Let's see what's happening, did I reap and sow enough to sustain me through these coming months? Now, once you've done that, you're giving thanks. That's all the Thanksgiving is, giving thanks. It's related to the time and the season. And also, we have some other history that occurred there and how it got twisted up and how it got twisted up with the turkey. But, see, I'm going to hold that because I'm going to play this recording, so I can't talk too much longer. I just have to find the recording. I know where it is. And we are trusting it's the 2015, and we give you that and why it's about the turkey or, the Turks or Moor, Ottoman Empire. You gotta know your history to really be able to make the connections that are absolutely necessary to make. So, with that being said, we have some callers on, and I don't think I need to say anything else. I was going to get into possibly, asking any current questions, but because I realized that most of you thought we were going to do the readers, I'm going to go ahead and let my what do we have? November 24th, Thanksgiving. Okay, so it would be November 2004 or November 25th. That'll be Thanksgiving. It's labeled Thanksgiving, so that must be it. So it's 2014, not 2015, that we did this. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and play that. I want you to enjoy all that is being shared with you, and enjoy your time with your family. And as I said, on this broadcast, we will be discussing, details regarding Thanksgiving. So if the music plays as an intro, do not be alarmed. I'm going to try and take that intro off because you just heard it. But if it does, do not be alarmed. Peace and love.
Islam, and welcome to Moore's Heritage and History School. This is your host, Hannah Ida L., along with my co-host, Mizraim Aleph L.
Peace and love.
All right, and let's see if Cujo is here today. Cujo, if you are in the queue, press 1, and if you're not in the queue, it looks like you might not be getting in tonight, or maybe you might come on later. Chat room is open for all our internet listeners. Peace and love. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening and supporting, and in the chat room, chatting, and sometimes very quiet, attentively listening. Peace and love.
Indeed. Peace and love, everybody.
Yes, peace and love. I want to give a big shout out to our internet family. Cujo can't get in, the lines are full. Well, we're doing something right. Well, he's here in spirit.
Indeed.
All right. Big shout out to our internet listeners, especially our family over there listening in South. Big shout out to a family listening over in the Netherlands, also in Japan, and let's see, Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, and Mexico, and areas that we have yet to connect with. Peace and love. Thank you so much for listening in. Oh, I'm so remiss. Family over there in Great Britain listening at 2 o'clock in the morning is loud. How could I ever forget you? Slap me.
Right.
All right. Let's see. let me get my list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage. That is so on the front burner, it is ridiculous. I mean, it's so much coming to light right now because it's just getting broadcast all over the world. The atrocities that are being imposed on the Moors, and it's about to bust wide open that it's nothing more than private corporations that are kidnapping the people on the street, creating fraudulent security bonds, trade them on the stock market, and at the same time forcing the people to work in these prisons. So that's like double dipping. And they're literally creating this whole new mental mental programming. I mean, it's like it's a conditioning. It's a new conditioning where instead of the people are living free, they're now living in prisons and they're working and they're watching TV and they're getting their hair done and their nails done and they're working out and they got email and book clubs and all kind of foolishness. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a prison. What's going on here? This is a slow walk into conditioning the people to feel like prison is where you can live. You don't have, you get a roof over your head, food, clothes, you're taken care of. And it sounds ridiculous to probably a lot of people listening, but I'm telling you, that's where the people are being slow walked into, especially when you look at the fact that the prisons are so overpopulated that people are sleeping on the floor. And you got private people building prisons to get in on the generating of revenue off of human trafficking. So this whole kidnapping the people for no lawful crime is really busting out. And it's unfortunate that we had to have a few Moors take a fall for that. But, sometimes that's a life. It's a very noble purpose, even though we miss the people. So with that said, that's not the nature of our show tonight. But with that said, let me just give a rundown of our family members that have been kidnapped. These people have been kidnapped by corporations, and they're being held hostage right now. And we have our sister RVBey, who was kidnapped by a joint venture between Mantis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. We have Dawood Ill kidnapped under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslamin Ill, and Kusu Rakush Bey under Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Ra Bey under Ohio, Jeremy Taylor Ill, Terry Thorne Bey, J. McHale Brooks Bey, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kushamir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bey, Yasin Khalik Alamin Ill, and Michael Curry Bey, all kidnapped under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Ill and Brother Messiah Aziz Ill under the purview of New Jersey, Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Marquis Sevion Ill under the purview of Indiana, Solomon Ill Bey and Mumi Abu Bey under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia, Shea Ray Bey under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bey under the purview of California, and Victor Eduardo Avalle Juarez Ill by the Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And I know I got some more that I'm supposed to be making an announcement on, and unfortunately I was running, and I didn't get to make an update. But I will with our next broadcast. they'll be all updated, and we'll definitely make mention of those Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage. And I think that's our housekeeping. All right, let's move on to our broadcast for today. Today's broadcast, and by the way, if you would like to get the syllabus for the show, or you have a family member who has been kidnapped and is being held hostage, and you would like us to make a public announcement with each broadcast of that, please send an email to mhhseyeswideopen@gmail.com. Today's show, we touched last week on Thanksgiving briefly, I felt, because, the whole issue with Ferguson Corporation was so hot and on the burner that it really kind of overshadowed some of the information that was brought about Thanksgiving. So while we were, doing the show, we just had some thoughts. And after the show, those thoughts were manifested into some incredible research that unveiled some amazing information. So we felt that it would be most appropriate to bring this information to the listening audience this week, as it is in conjunction, it kind of like dovetails off of last week's broadcast regarding Thanksgiving. And I know last week we said we were going to talk about another particular subject, but we're just going to have to push it off until next day. We'll recap on the subject matter we ended with last week, but today we just got to bring you this information. Because it's quite interesting. But before we get into this information, I just would like people to think about this, because we get so much information, and a lot of times we're churning things over in our head, and some stuff will slip by us until we get somebody to make some sort of a statement, and then we're like, wow, that's absolutely correct. So the question that I want to put on the table, if and this is all relative to Thanksgiving, because this whole Thanksgiving issue is all predicated on the Indians who supposedly assisted the modern Europeans, and you got to know that first and foremost, Indian is a brand. Doesn't link back to any flesh and blood Aboriginal indigenous family. And, if you haven't figured it out yet, the Aboriginal indigenous people is where it's at, okay, because they are the oldest, the only people on this planet, and that's why in many of our writs we say you're Aboriginal indigenous to the land, because the land is planet Earth, and that's it. All right, wait. I think Cujo has been able to slip in. Hold on, let me find him here. On a different frequency at that.
Right.
Where are you? Wait. We got Sister RVBey. Hey.
It's not, I'm listening in. I'm excited about this evening. So Islam, peace and love to everyone.
All right. Did you try to find? I'm trying to find. Cujo, if you're listening, you need to press 1, because you're not in the queue.
Tell him to text you a couple of the digits that he's calling in on.
He did. I'm looking for it. I don't think. Well, you know what? Let me keep on. I'm gonna keep on talking until I find him. All right. Well, let me just keep on talking until I find him. See, that's multitasking. So anyway, So we start. The question to ask: Indians. Indians is a brand. It doesn't link back to any people. So the question to ask is: if the so-called Indians were the people on this land, why did Hillary Rodham Clinton, tell the world from the Benjamin Franklin room of the White House it was, in fact, the Moors of Morocco, or I should say Morocco, that first recognized the United States of America as a nation? Now, keep in mind that today the Kingdom of Morocco was established in 1956, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship was drafted in 1786. So that, where the question to ask is, here's the second part of the question, and if the so-called Indians were here, wouldn't it have been the so-called Indians who would have first-hand knowledge of the modern Europeans in order to recognize them? You know?
And she used the word nation. She said nation, too.
Exactly. She said nation. Now, everything that they have always told us, it says, oh, these Indians were peeking through the bushes, they were half naked, and here is Cujo. Thank you, Cujo. Islam.
Islam. You know we make it happen. You know we make it happen. They might try. Islam to all the Moors. Peace and love.
Islam. All right. So now, they say that the Indians were here, all right? They were the people on this land. So now these people, really, you got to call a spade a spade. These people that are branded Indians, those are not the people that recognize them. The people, when they depict the Indian, whenever they're depicting the Indian, they're always, interestingly enough, very pale, and they're half naked, and they're running around the land, and they identify them as savages. Now, interestingly enough, it's the Indians who call the modern European pale-faced. Now, if they are pale-faced, why would they call somebody else pale-faced?
Right.
That's good. Get you to thinking. What he said, if I could just get you to thinking, you'd free yourself. That's what Prophet Noble Jerusalem said.
Yes.
Serious thing.
So we have to ask ourselves, what exactly were they celebrating? Who were they celebrating it with? And if these pale-faced Indians were the people here, what does Morocco have to do with the United States of America? And here's the other thing. Where the hell is Morocco? Where was Morocco in 1786? If you didn't know, let me just educate you. At the what they call the United States today and then is Morocco. Morocco is North America, Northwest America. That's Morocco.
Yes,
So it would seem that if this land here that is called North America, South America, Central America, and the Atlantis Islands is Morocco, then the people that recognize them is the branded people they call Indians, and then they lightened them up when they did the Reconstruction of 1865. So, but if you go back into the history and you go to RVBey Publications, you will see the true complexion of the Moors branded Indian, and many of the Moors that today identify themselves as Negro-colored black will tell you, I've got some Indian in my family, not even realizing that they're saying, I'm a Moor.
Yeah.
but let me drop one more piece of jewel on you, because Obama, he knows he's stepping off and leaving a blazing trail behind him.
He's getting ready to leave out all these people. Are we going to impeach him? What are you talking about? This is his last year. Impeach what? He's been in there 8 years. You're going to try and get him out in the last, 3 months or something? That's so stupid. He only got a short time left. What? Bro, man, put the pin in it when he let everybody know. At the speech in Chicago yesterday, he said there have been periods where the folks who were already here suddenly say, well, I don't want those folks. Even though the only people who have the right to say even though the only people who have the right to say that are some Native Americans. He didn't say no, what do you call them, Native Indians.
Right.
He said Native Americans. But do you know who the Native Americans are?
And can I just
you gotta you gotta also put that Clinton.
I got it right here.
Piece in.
Yes. I got it right here, and I'm just going to read that one little sentence there, because in 1998, President Clinton did a executive order on the implementation of human rights treaties. And, I'm not going to read the whole thing because you can just pop it up yourself on the Internet, but we do have it on the site. I'm going to make sure it's up there because I don't remember where I put it. But he says on Section 4, C5, Section 4, subsection C5, on this one paragraph, he makes the distinction also where he's talking about developing proposals and recommended mechanisms for improving the monitoring of actions by the various states, Commonwealth, territories of the United States, and whenever it's appropriate, of the Native Americans and the federally recognized Indian tribes. There's a distinction right there.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
You got Native Americans and you got federally recognized Indians. Yes, Mom. And we've used that in certain areas when we say to them, for instance, like if you're dealing with taxes or whatever, and they'll say, well, did you have your SP form from the state? We're like, no, the state has no jurisdiction over Native, over the nationals. And then they'll say, well, if you're a Native American, well, then you have your federal tax, or whatever. We're like, no. We're not federally recognized or reserved Indians. We said we are Native Americans, the Aboriginal, Indigenous, more American nationals. So there's the distinction that must be made within yourself in order to navigate properly.
Yes, yes.
Islam.
And Islam. And before I let Ms. Rahim drop it on you with the information, I just want to say one thing. It is so imperative that we all study and know the supreme law of this land, which is the American Constitution, 1791, because everything that we're going through, and I just want to, Roz just briefly spoke about taxes. The whole purpose, one of the major reasons that the American Constitution came about was because of taxes. And it was taxation without representation. Now, it was the modern Europeans, today erroneously called white people, who were being taxed for everything under the sun. And they got tired of it. They changed allegiances. They switched from the British Moors of Great Britain to the Moors of Al-Marak, and they created that Declaration of Independence, and then they went into the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and then they went into the American Constitution because they were getting taxed and they had no representation. So now, today, the tables have turned. But guess what? the Constitution is still there. It's still there. Today, it is the Moors that is being compelled to pay a tax into a system that does not and cannot represent them, because that is a Roman venue and a Moor cannot be a Roman.
Exactly.
That is absolute taxation without representation. And then they'll tell you, oh, it's mandated. No, mandated by who? Because unless I say it is, since I am the Aboriginal Indigenous people, that's not a mandate. That's a policy. But this is the brilliance of Prophet Noble Jew Ali. He mentioned 1774 Constitution. Has anybody went and looked into, okay, what Constitution is that of 1774? What is that? If you go back and you look, you will run into the Articles of Association, and if you read the letter that the modern Europeans sent to the people of Great Britain, wonders of wonders, you will be reading what was happening to them back in 1774, which tables have turned, now is happening to the Moors in 2000.
Exactly.
But guess what? The remedy for them in 1774 was the Constitution. Guess what? The remedy for the Moors today in 2014 is the Constitution. And this is why the prophet pointed you to it.
Exactly. Oh, God, you're so on point. And I just want to say this one thing. The reason why most people get all this confused, and I know that we're getting ready to, we trust that this broadcast today will straighten that out, is that they keep thinking that when you say, taxes and representation and all that and the land, they don't realize that they're the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land, and that all of these other foreigners and the United States of America, which the Constitution was written for, because it wasn't written for us, they are the ones that they're not Aboriginal and indigenous, and this is not their land, but people think in their mind, this is not their ancestral estate, people think in their mind that these modern Europeans, and that they have some a jurisdiction or some dominion or ownership, whatever word they want to use, over the land. They actually believe that, and they think that they're government. This is what people have been, this is what they believe from the 12 years of slave programming that we've received, because we didn't have our own schools as we were supposed to. But they think that in their mind, that they're the authority, that this is their land. And like the prophet said, if I could get you to think, and you already know this, that they came here on boats. This is not their ancestral estate. This is your national domicile. Regardless to whether you think you lost a fight, lost a war, none of that is irrelevant to the fact that this is your ancestral estate. And as long as you're living and breathing, then you're the descendants of that, period. But the trick was to make you think that you are not who you are and tied to this land, period, by birthright. That's the whole point. That's why the prophet said, come hear the truth about your nationality and your birthright. That's the reason for that. Islam.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on that with regard to Barack Obama and the things that he's saying in this speech with regard to, who the so-called, natives are, and identifying them as the Americans. Remember that in 2011, Moors, and you could go find this on Moorish Nation public records, Moors already put Barack Obama on notice. This is not anything spectacular that we're talking about.
Right.
He's been knowing about the Moors. And like they're saying, it's coming to an end. Just like when somebody's on their deathbed and they're going to lay it all out on you. All the stuff they hate about you, all the stuff in their heart that they've been holding back or whatever from telling you, the vault in the back of the whatever because they're on their deathbed. Brock's on his deathbed right now. He's about to leave.
Yeah.
And he's putting it all out there for all the dumb Negroes who want to go around marching, picketing, lying in the street, getting run over or whatever like that. are talking about they want rights when they have a nation. Their King Arthur clan told them that you're bound to this continent by heritage. They don't want to go with that. Moors didn't put these people on notice. They don't want to go with that. Then anybody, you guys play around. You see what they did with Black Panther buddy who's pretending to be a Moor, just like Malachi York pretending to be a Moor, and all these other people pretending to be Moors. And then when stuff kicks off, they're going to get a lawyer and stuff like that.
Right.
Right?
Right. Because Moors know the law. Moors know the law.
Right.
They're supposed to be studying for that reason.
Yeah.
No, this is not anything new. Even people who are just, because line was full so they couldn't even get it. So people are calling into the show or whatever. Right? So all new people, don't think this is some new information. Barack Obama been known about Moors. He's a constitutional lawyer. He knows about treaty of peace and friendship and all that. Been known about that since he was in college or whatever. This is not nothing new.
He didn't hide it either, Cujo. He didn't hide it. It's just that you can take a horse water, but you can't make them drink. If the people don't know who they are, it's nothing anybody can do for them until they come up.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what I mean? So, be careful because people are going to, you know what I mean? If they're choking people out or whatever, I suggest stay the hell away from those people before you get something. And, we're on the show talking about you because you were standing next to a black guy and they shot you. Because they're out for, they're doing their depopulation right now. If you see all those FEMA stuff and whatever that they got going on, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the FEMA and all that stuff that, people who you don't know are showing you stuff. Worry about that guy in that building right over there, right, that has a big whatever on it, and they got fleets of cars in the back, and they're taking out people who don't have nationalities. How come Chinese people are getting shot up and stuff like that, marching for yellow rights or whatever? How come Sri Lankans and Turks and whoever else is in America as a foreigner, how come none of them are getting shot up? How come it's only these particular people identified as Negro, black, colored people that are always getting shot up? Always have some problem, marching, picketing or whatever. Always have some agent coming to talk for them on behalf of them, you know what I mean, against the beast system and whatever like that, when all they got to do is just proclaim their nationality, and that's it. And you end all your problems. All the roach-infested stuff, all that's over, just by proclaiming their nationality.
Yeah, well,
and being who can live law.
Yeah, that's
you got to then be who you say you are, because there's some people who proclaim their nationality, but they never really declared it, meaning that that's why the prophet said, if you don't do anything else, declare it, because Mrs. brought that out, and we brought it out 1,000 times. Declaring it means being cleared yourself. So there's people proclaiming it, but they have never really declared it. So you got people proclaiming it, and they still acting like they're not national. And that's only because they have not studied enough yet or gotten enough of the correct, information before making moves, and therefore they really aren't whole with who they really are and what that really means.
Indeed. And all of that, they have to have the knowledge too and be fortified in the 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I say that because when you mentioned the marching, like every time they go march, they're saying we want justice, right? And I'm like, well, when you really study justice, you know that it's interior and exterior justice. And like chanting it outside of the police station, they can't give it to you. Like it's something that you have to bring from within, recognize what's really going on without. And that's real, like stand on that again, because they're saying we want justice when they're out there marching. I was watching it on the news the other day. I'm like, wow, that's what y'all out there for. I mean, if they just really listen to what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said with the study, look, they will find out what it really is and where it really comes from. But back to what you were saying about the Indians, like this information is so, in the taxation without representation. Like today as we speak, on the license plate instrument of what they call Washington D.C. On there it says taxation without representation. Like, it doesn't say no taxation without representation. Like, it simply says taxation without representation. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, this right here, this is what they're about. You know, and it's unconstitutional. So, like, with this concept of Indians, if you just Google indigenous people of America and you read it, like, just read it. Not that you need this for affirmation completely, but just to see how it's openly out there. It's just a matter of study. Like, it says that the unitary idea of Indians was not originally accepted by the indigenous people, but over the past 2 centuries, it has been accepted, something to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not our identity, it's a nom de guerre. So it's like they know we're not Indians. They definitely know we're not Indians. And you mentioned that Reconstruction era, which played a part in that misrepresentation as well. But in just in studying and all the links we've been looking at, one thing that stood out to me was a Moor, and the appellation was Muhammad Wayonaman. And it says he was a Native American tribal chieftain or sachem of the Mohegan tribe from Connecticut. Now, before anything, we know that's not the state of Connecticut. But this man, the Native American with the appellation Muhammad, straight point blank, and you can Google that, Mahomet. So it's like these Moorish appellations were already here in use. Like, these are people who existed, you know, and the appellation kind of speaks for itself as far as Moors being here, Aboriginal indigenous status. But anyway, it goes on to say he traveled to England in 1735 to petition King George II for better treatment of his people. And I was like, wow, because at that time they didn't declare their independence yet to 1776. So they were still, and really still are, colonists for real. But they never openly declared their independence being subjects. So that's why there was no union yet, you know? Well, or agreement on the Constitution yet. So Muhammad was the great-grandson of Uncas. But now, one thing that stood out to me is that as a foreigner, it says as a foreigner, he was not permitted to be buried in the city of London, and he was interred in an unmarked grave in what is now Southwark Cathedral. It says on November 22nd, 2006, Queen Elizabeth II dedicated a memorial to Muhammad Wayonaman at the cathedral, accompanied by a traditional funeral ceremony conducted by members of the tribe. And it was on BBC News. So it's like these people wouldn't even bury this man on that land. Like, that was where the tension line was at. That was kind of disrespectful. But one thing you pointed out about knowing that this is our ancestral estate, is that it can't be brought, sold, or transferred, you know? So no matter what, because when they look at those Boyd records and say, okay, well, this person sold the land to this colonist in the 1600s, so now it's ours. Like, no, the whole point of claiming the ancestral estate is because it can't be sold. It's only by the right of blood. So I think that's a major connection. But anyway, another thing that stood out about it is that when he traveled to England in 1735, it wasn't like Moors or the Aboriginal people were not traveling. Like, they act like there was no, like, we didn't have any knowledge, couldn't traverse the Great Atlantis, etc. We know that's all fraud. But I'm just saying they were bringing it straight to their, quote, monarch, you know, as far as their subjects. So if these people are English subjects, then you have to bring it to who their superior is. And to travel from North America to England, it's not, I mean, we know we do things like that, but it just goes to show that it was nothing new to the Moors that was here. of traveling the Great Atlantis at all. I mean, they just pointed something out. But another thing that interested me all from just analyzing is that it was a queen named Ali Quipa, right? And, well, that wasn't a name. That's an appellation. And she was an Aboriginal indigenous Moor. The appellation Ali definitely speaks volumes. And she met with George Washington, right, in July 3rd through the 4th in 1754. And they went to battle the next day. They were going to be fighting another tribe of Moors, if you will. We know they're Moors, but just another part of the family or whatnot. And they were allegedly assisting George Washington in them. And they said that that was the only battle that George Washington surrendered to. So I was thinking they visited him, they gave him a visit July 3rd through the 4th, 1754. That was the only battle they surrendered. But then they celebrate independence on July 4th from 1776, Independence Day. So those were things that correlated to me as far as just researching the whole branch of history during those times of, why Thanksgiving occurred, et cetera, just a whole bunch of revelations. So I just say look into that as well because the timelines, the dates they do things are never for no reason. Like there's always some history behind it. I mean, things happen every day, but to celebrate that day, July 4th, and know the history, 1754, it just makes a correlation that I wonder about. I don't know. Islam, that I yield the floor. I mean, I know it's a lot, but those were things I was analyzing.
No. Talk about the link between Metacom.
Oh,
yeah, you got to drop that, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, we brought that up last week, something slight. But, yeah, all right, so you could go on RVBey Publications. There's something up there about it, brief. But it's, all right, he had a brother whose appellation was Wamsuda. And the Europeans called him King Alexander, and they called Metacomet.
You didn't talk about Metacomet yet. You didn't tell them who Metacomet is.
I'm going into it right now.
Oh, okay.
Because I said that we mentioned it briefly last week, so I was mentioning that King Philip, well, who they call King Philip, who is really Metacomet, an Aboriginal indigenous Moor.
Here.
He had a brother whose appellation was Wamsuda. And Wamsuda was who the Europeans later came to call King Alexander. But now this is the link because it's a lot, and feel free to add on because these were the first people, these were the first Moors to have the Thanksgiving celebration with them, as far as why it even is celebrated in these days. But it was another sister that his brother Wamsuda, King Alexander, right? Excuse me, his King Alexander's wife. was Witamu, and all of them had everything to do with the quote Thanksgiving in the first, what they misrepresent as the first Indian War. But we know that these are Moors and that these appellations were not who these people were. They were not Indians. So one thing about it is like when you look in history, they try to switch it up. They give them European names. They give Moors European names. And these are the nom de guerres. That's the war strategy. And then when you look at it, because, I mean, like, let's say if you read about a, quote, King Philip with no picture, no evidence, it sounds like a European name. It sounds like a European. I mean, me personally, just reading the appellation or the name King Philip, I think European. I wasn't thinking more, right? But when you look at it and you say, oh, this is the same matter that we're dealing with today. Like, it's the true Aboriginal appellations versus these nom de guerres that they make enchantments on and void records to, if you will. So they even went through the process of going to the court, and the record says that they asked for English names, but I think that was some sort of coercion there, because that's what they do. So King Philip is really Metacomet. That's posted right on the site, but it's a lot of history that links with it, because all of these are the same people who went to war with these Europeans, and the same reason why they celebrate Thanksgiving, due to these Moors. So it was a lot going on, and it was some internal conflict, usually, as usual, and people started thinking like, hold on, these people are selling us out, and people started taking sides or whatnot. But it's it's a deep story. So, I mean, it's the same thing we see today, basically. But the sister Wikamu, I think that was what really needs to be emphasized too, is that though what Metacomet was a war chief, like she gathered up to join in fighting these Europeans with Metacomet. So, you know what I mean? So she was a sheik too, like, and you know what I mean? Like that, I think that part right there is a very interesting point to note, because it wasn't like the women were just idly by, like, you know what I mean? They were actually in the wars as well.
Yeah. Didn't she also have 2 or 5 husbands? And let's make it clear that that has nothing to do with sexual activity, but because she was a sheik over a great amount of territory, you know, she had the mufti. So they weren't husband, because husband means house finder, meaning binding the home domestically. But a lot of people, as soon as they hear husband, because of the patriarchal culture that's been placed on it, or the improper patriarchal culture, that way, they think, oh well, he was having sex with 5 guys, and it has nothing to do with that at all.
Right. But see, the thing though, this is what makes the link, because one of her 5 husbands was Wamsuda, who they call King Alexander, which is Metacomet's brother. You get what I'm saying? Who was acknowledged for joining in the first Thanksgiving feast with the Europeans, the very first Thanksgiving celebration, or why they celebrated. You know what I mean? So that was the connection. Like, they were really all one family, really. But, you know what I mean? She did, you know what I mean, rouse up, and bring the unity together to go against these people. And that's what happened. So it's a lot that goes with knowing all of that history and how it connects to them changing the Aboriginal appellations to Nam de Gears, to throw off their history. So again, it's no different than if you read about John Smith, you're not going to think, somebody from of so-called Japanese descent or so-called Chinese descent. You don't think that, right? I mean, but this is why it's so much in the appellation, like the appellations of our foremothers and forefathers, to know those and to see how they switched it. Not just with us, like this was the stratagem to put the brands on this. And now you can't even connect, just like, some people think that they're black, they don't connect when they see Moor or Saracen, etc., like, because they're disconnected from the truth of what those things mean. And it's the same with the history, like, so this is why we definitely have to acknowledge what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, and study, and then study self. So when you study, you just come across things like, it's like, wow. And it's a revelation in its own.
Don't you think, though, Miss, that it's very important that you know who you are and who it's who prior to studying? Because people come across stuff, but if they don't know where they are in it and who they are in it, then they don't really see it the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they will get mixed up with who is who, because and that's a big challenge with many of our people. Like, we have discussions at least once a day with some Moor who's talking, and they're talking from the perspective of, well, you know, I'm the modern European. No, you're not. That's not you. And it's like, you know, it's like I said, you know, that movie Trading Places, it's just so in our faces, because we are voluntarily, we're not even giving them a fight. We're voluntarily trading places with the modern European. We are taking on their history. Meanwhile, they're taking on ours.
Yeah.
And we're not objecting. In fact, we got Moors who will get into great, lengthy debates about, I am not a Moor. Meanwhile, the whole damn world knows that you are the heir apparent. Your appearance alone identifies you as a Moor. Yet you're standing there saying, I'm not a Moor. And I can't say this enough. If you being who you really are, i.e. a Moor, was not a big deal, why is it that if they kidnap you off the street, they will break your hand off to get a fingerprint on the gear that lists you as Negro, which is troglodyte, Negro, chimpanzee, colored, which is, you know, what is that, an adjective, black, which is a description, or African American.
Colored is something that gets started, stained, or died. That's what colored is. It's not real.
Right. Or they're classifying you as African American, which is African and an American, which is two continents. Now, they will break your hand off to get you joined to that nom de guerre, that fiction. But the minute you proclaim your nationality to be a Moor, they lose their foolish minds. Foolish minds. And you'll tell them, no, that's not my appellation. It is. And then they do these slick things. Well, if that's not you, we're going to have to put out a warrant for your arrest. That is the dumbest thing. I'm standing right here. I'm in my proper person. I'm telling you that I'm here to talk to you about this issue, but you're going to say, unless I answer to this nom de guerre, which is a fiction, you're going to put out an APB a warrant for my arrest because I didn't show up, but I'm standing here. And
you know
that
what
is the most dumbest, retarded thing. Let me not say retarded. Let me not say retarded because retarded people are not retarded. They're just thinking on another frequency. That is dumb. That is dumb and dumber.
Yeah. We talked about that today, Ms., where we were talking about, I was telling you something about what someone told someone in court. And you said, well, they don't have the right words, which is jurisdiction, so they will say anything because they don't have the right thing to say. And they'll say ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Like, they don't have jurisdiction. What can they say? If jurisdiction is right word, what can they possibly say to you? Like, that's going to be right.
Can't say nothing.
You know what I mean? That's really what it is. And it's not to be arrogant, but just really look at it for what it is. Like what it is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But
But check this too. If we go back to the beginning when we were talking about Hillary Clinton in the Ben Franklin room, because they don't have jurisdiction is why she's sitting in front of a Moroccan flag.
Yes, yes, because let me just touch on that. Just
because
for all the people listening.
They need to assume that they have jurisdiction. And if you go with the fact that, hey, she's in the Ben Franklin room doing a speech or whatever, and you don't recognize she's in front of the flag that they never, ever, ever, ever stand in front of, they always stand in front of the banner. They always stand in front of the banner. They always stand in front of the eagle. They never stand in front of the Great Seal or the Moroccan flag.
Right.
Except when under pressure. And they need to prove to the international community.
They can't stand in front of the Great Seal because they're not the Great Seal. They're the eagle, but they are not the pyramid. Much as they would like to be, they could never stand in front of that. That would be a stuck. The minute they stand in front of the pyramid, it ain't just going to be the Moors over here coming after them. That represents a family that they could never be a part of.
Right.
But,
what's next?
You know, so we Moors over here, we can sleep on that, but the other Moors around the world is not going to tolerate that. And, you know, and look at this. Why people don't even recognize? Okay, why was Hillary sitting in front of the Moroccan flag in the Benjamin Franklin room, telling the world that we owe everything to you Moors? If it wasn't for you recognizing us and helping us getting established as a nation, and let's not forget bankrolling us, we wouldn't be here today. And she did it sitting in front of the Moroccan flag. That's the Moorish flag, by the way. And so what was the message that she was sending? I'm trying to find what is it, out of the, the 1906 writings from the Madrid Convention, because it's out here.
Oh, they got it up there.
It's Article 3, I think it's Article 3 and 4, where they state for the record, they read Article 3 and 4, and then they have a commentary underneath it where they say basically, if this gets out, we modern Europeans are screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can read it, because I want people to really pay attention, because everything that these modern Europeans are doing, and I'm not saying that there are not good modern Europeans out there that's working with us. That's not what I'm saying. But the ones that are not working with us, the ones that are creating disharmony and havoc on this land that's supposed to be a haven for all people, those modern Europeans got to go.
Let me say this. Since you brought that up, I got it right in front of me, and it's a great time to mention it because we found out that there's a lot of Moors who think that there's a lot of unconscious Moors who haven't really fully studied, who think that Moors are subjects. Ain't that a daggone shame? They think we're subjects because of whatever they're reading that's not correct. Now, what you just said, I'm going to just read that portion right there. It says, the above ruling has never yet been acted upon, and should this at any time be contemplated seriously, a large number of naturalized people, American and others, residing in Morocco will be affected thereby. Now, that was about where it says basically, if so, joy you are more, because it says that if you have not, it says that if you, Moorish subjects, lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized. Listen, Moorish subjects, first of all, we're not the subject. But they lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized, protected by another country having treaty relations with the Moorish Empire. And above that it says, and this is where we are today, people, so wake up, because this is it. Number one, it says citizenship in Morocco may be said to be governed by the laws pertaining to the same in any other countries, with the exception that all persons residing in Morocco who cannot prove their foreign citizenship or protection are considered ipso jure a Moorish subject. Now let's say that one more time, because this is the Expatriation Act, page 460, I think this is, and it's telling you that if you're standing here right now and you can't show some allegiance to some nationality, or that you've naturalized, which would not be Moors, it would be the subject. It would be other citizens that the prophet warned you of. And you can't do that, you are already a Moorish subject. See, as you said, everything, the script is flipped. This is the Moroccan Empire. This is not the modern European stuff. So if you're standing there and, you don't know who the heck you are, then, yeah, you are a subject of what? The Moroccan Empire. It only makes sense.
Right. That's why it was Moors, the Moorish nation, that were the first ones to recognize them.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what they don't want. And also, that's what they don't want to get out. That's what they said in the next one. They said, boy, if this gets out, a lot of people will really be affected.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that. I really want to just dovetail off of that. It's because see, 2 and 3 says Moorish subjects. This would be your modern Europeans. Lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relations with the Moorish Empire. Now, and I really want to break this down because what they're saying is these modern Europeans, they have changed their allegiance from the Moorish Empire to the U.F.A. corporation. And all of these people today that's going through this fictitious naturalization process with this corporate agency, you are what you're doing because you can never lose your Moorish nationality because that's your descent line. But these modern Europeans, they are giving up. They're changing their allegiance to a corporation, and then through that corporation, they're warring against the Aboriginal indigenous people. And those corporations that they're working through is the county corporations, which were established under Great Britain ruling. This is why they put out the Trading with the Enemy Act. And what's crazy about that is you got these modern Europeans sitting here talking about, we're going to go to the county and have them arrest the people in the state. But the state is constitutionally sanctioned. The county isn't. So who's trading with the enemy?
Right. And just to say, this is why Prophet knows the Jew. I'm telling you, man, this is so on point here. Because we got some of our own people, our own brethren, who are also naturalizing and becoming U.S.A. citizens. So that is against what the prophet said. He said, declare what
Moy.
It's good. It's good, Joe.
Just remember, right, that in order for the European to gain this pseudo-possession of the authority of the Moroccan Empire, there had to be Moors who got other Moors to think that they're not Moors and move away from what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no way that, just like there's no way that 20 Europeans are going to bring 60 million of us over on a slave ship.
No way.
Right.
No way. There's no way that like when we bring up Morocco and everybody starts talking about kingdoms. We're not talking about no kingdom.
Yeah.
There's an emphasis on Moroccan Empire every time we talk. People bringing up kingdoms.
Yes.
But you said Moroccan Empire. Yeah, the Arabs over there in Morocco, they did whatever to black people or whatever like that. We're not talking about that stuff.
No.
Oh, yeah.
We're not talking about kingdom. We're talking about empire.
Absolutely.
Right.
And nations. And the nation.
And I just, you know what, and Cujo, as you say that, I just want to read, out of here where they absolutely, because, there's some Moors, unconscious Moors out there talking about, there ain't no treaty with the word Moorish in it. Here we go, right here. This is the Madrid, the Madrid Convention, 1880, where they talk about Moorish subject. Okay, they also talk about Moorish subjects lost in. When I say Moorish subjects lost in nationality only by becoming naturalized in or protected by another country having treaty relationships with the what? Moorish Empire. There you go.
I know, and then clear this up too. When you say Moorish subjects, because of these unstudied, some of our unstudied brethren, the first thing they think is, oh, so we're supposed to be Moors or Moorish? Well, then they must be talking about us. No, subjects are subjects. Nationals are nationals. Ada?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The word
No, go ahead, Miz.
No, go ahead, good brother.
No, I was just gonna say that with regard to Ferguson. Remember, Noble Drawley told you in 1913 that you're from Missouri.
Oh.
Right.
Well, you messing around with your corporate U.S. or whatever when he's telling you that you're from there.
Right.
Okay. That's right. So you got to know that. You got to know
And
that.
that's of Aboriginal appellation.
Yeah.
If you really look up the word, the story, the Europeans didn't create that appellation.
Yeah.
Really. You know, so it's back to that wordplay again. Just like there's so much history that we have, it's just when they're not showing you who's who, like, and they're misrepresenting in the nom de guerres from black, Negro, you know what I mean, kingdom versus empire, like all of these things. So it just gives you a different direction, and you may
like
not know
Tennessee,
this.
Tennessee is an Aboriginal appellation in that it means the bending river. That's not something that they mean, and that's why the prophet said that, to try to bring you back to what does he mean? Because you think that Missouri, the corporation, without knowing the difference between the two, or Tennessee, the corporation. And that's what they have done. As they do with courts. They'll say, well, this is the Supreme Court, but it really is not the Supreme Court. It's that in name only, but it's not a sanctioned court at all. That's the word that they do, and that's why studying you will find these things out.
Yeah.
And on that note, go
ahead. Well,
no,
I just want to say, because go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll definitely.
I wanted to just say, because a lot of people, they send out the delegations of authority, and they always, invariably, many come back and they're almost like whining. I sent out the admin jurisdiction, and they didn't send me anything. What am I supposed to do? Look, you need to get happy, do cartwheels, dance a jig, because they just told you we don't got it. And if you do your research on that so-called building called a court, because see, what people don't realize, and I learned this a couple years ago, is you, listening people, you can go into that building and you can rent that room. And then you can call people in there, and then you can send out paperwork that says, I'm calling you into the court. Yeah, I'm calling you into the building where I have rented a room that's set up like a court, just like if I want to have a conference, I can go into any building where they rent space and I can rent it, but that building can be like the Trump Towers, for example. I'm going into the Trump Towers. I'm renting a room. I'm sending you documentation. I'm going to get this pretty paper. They don't even do that. But I'm going to get this pretty paper. I'm going to make some fancy fonts, and I'm going to say, welcome to the Trump Tower. You can meet me in suite so-and-so. You're going to be thinking, wow, she got some power. She in the Trump Tower. No, I just rented a room. That's what's going on.
Right.
She's rich. She owns the Trump Tower. We're going to the Trump Tower. No, I just rented a room.
But when you apply that to the court, though, it's what you're saying is they just rent these buildings. They say
they just rented the room.
They have no delegation of authority. It's a big duty.
No delegation of authority.
None. Because that society,
and if the people would just do a little bit of research on this so-called court, what you're going to find is that they were established by the General Assembly. Now, the American Constitution of 1791, Article 3, Section 1, says that all judicial authority is vested in the one Supreme Court. Let me say that again. All judicial authority is vested in the one Supreme Court. And any inferior court that may delegate it to from time to time by Congress, not the General Assembly. And this General Assembly isn't even attached to the state. That General Assembly was set up by the kings of Great Britain. So you already know that there's some funky stuff going down. But this is why the prophet says study, study, study. And I just want to read one other thing because, we got a lot of people running around here talking about, they're not clear on nationality. They're not clear on citizenship. They're not clear on a lot of things. But in this same book, there is a letter from Mr. Philip Charge d'Affaires to Mr. Root, Secretary of State, August 3rd, 1906, where he says, sir, there are, listen to what I'm saying now, strictly speaking, no Moroccan laws relating to citizenship of Moorish subjects in Morocco. Moorish subjects is your modern European. When you're in Morocco, you're right here, North America, continental United States. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely. The fundamental laws of this non-Christian country are based entirely upon the Islamic code, no part of which treats of the subject of citizenship. See, because it's all about bloodline.
Yeah.
All right, now
it's all about bloodline.
So now look, let's go back to what. This is beautiful. Let me just read this from President Obama when he first came in. And let's not forget that he knows what is up, as Who just said, as we all said, constitutional lawyer. Well, there's what other kind of lawyer is there? He already knows, all right? But he also knows that he has a job as a CEO of the United States of America Corporation job. But that doesn't make him president over, that doesn't mean that he is really over or the president as we describe of the Moorish nation, or where you have the representatives from the Congress, which were really Moor. So he knows. And here's what he wrote in his speech that you can pull up yourself. We booked it, but it says, as a student of history, I also know civilization's death to Islam. It was Islam at places like Al-Azhar University that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. Oh, what did he just see? All right, we brought them out of the darkness. Okay, let me say it again. Paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. It was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra. Somebody scratch it. What is happening? The order of algebra, our magnetic compass, and tools of navigation, our mastery of pen and printing, our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed. Islamic culture has given us majestic arch and soaring spires, timeless poetry and cherished music, elegant calligraphy, on places of peaceful contemplation. And throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibility of religious tolerance and racial equality. And, I know too that Islam has always been a part of America's story. So, I'm not going to read the rest, but didn't you just now say, what'd you say? That this country was built on what?
Non-Christian.
Thank you.
What is it? Non-Christian countries are based entirely upon the Islamic code. And you know what? I just want to say something. I just want to interject something real quick here, because you know what? Hillary herself and a lot of these so-called government officials, they never say, "Oh, it was the Moors." It wasn't the Moors. They always say it was that Islamic country or those Islamic people, or Islam brought us out of the darkness into marvelous light. Now, when they say, look, is there a nationality called Islam? Is there a nationality? No. So whenever you hear them talking about Islam or Islamic, they really is substituting Islam or Islamic for Moor. Because there's no nationality called Islam.
Not at all.
It's Moor. So what are they talking about? It's that Islamic nation. What Islamic nation?
Right, because people would say, and I've always said that they would say, well, I'm a Muslim. Now, we all know Muslim is Muslims and men is defeated, However, they would say I'm a Muslim, and I would look at them and I said, well, what are you, Islam or Muslim? And they would be stunned. They wouldn't even know what to say now.
Indeed.
But they really don't.
And you pointed that out, too. When you look at that picture of, quote-unquote, King Philip, it looked like he's making the Islam greeting posture to a certain degree.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, it was another King Philip whose appellation was E. Motler. And if you look at his image, he has on what looks like a turban to a certain degree in the oil paint. So, but just pointing out that they definitely flipped the appellation. And it says something about his brother had an interpreter. Wamsuda had an interpreter that was a Christian convert, like he was converting people to Christianity. And that's where they say that the suggestion for them to change their appellations comes from, because because only Christians have names. When you look it up in the law dictionary, the definition of name refers to Christians. So they took it from the appellation to the name, and this is where they assume that artificial personam jurisdiction at, right there. That's what they do.
And you're right.
You can't be a proper person. Yeah, because you can't be a proper person with another nation's name. You know what I mean? So the whole vibration of who you are was just lowered down. So it's no way, you know what I mean? Like they have a certain, I don't know, it's crazy. It's enchantments. It's enchantments, but it's still all about call and response.
But as you were, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Finish.
No,
I was just saying.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, because a lot of people don't catch this. Because how many people, I'm not sure if, I know they do this in like the Catholic Church and the Orthodox churches, but when they baptize you, they give you a new name. And invariably, that new name is a Christian name. So that was another way that they implemented taking you outside of your descent line. You thought you was getting closer to God. You was getting farther away, really.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Sister Anna Eve, Montiel wants to make a comment, but we couldn't get in, so...
That we would. You know what? I need to open up the lines anyway, so we have 39 minutes to the live internet feed. So, Islam.
Hold on now. Is the voice coming out clear? Because I'm on that other device. Is our voice coming out clear now?
Yeah, it is.
All right, very good. All right, yes. Go ahead.
Archaeology will tell you that the oldest people are the copper-colored ones that have thick lips, wide nose, and woolly hair. The modern European wasn't always here.
That's great thing.
So who's responsible for the ones who have the thin lips, the straight nose, and the straight hair?
That's another class.
There's a suspect. And you know what they look like? The suspect has full lips, wide nose, and curly hair. And they had to be named when they were created. That's where the naming comes in for the Christians.
Yeah.
Because the oldest people on the planet are responsible for the modern ones. That's the colored man.
Yeah.
So what kind of rights and jurisdiction can the colored man have over the copper-colored man, the original man? Because even if you can do it and you don't want to recognize where they come from, they're holding up their coats of arms with your face on it.
Yes.
People know, I don't know them niggas.
Hold on. Just for the record, well, we're talking about all these imageries of Moors. If y'all ever saw a picture of the imagery of who Moshish is, that's why we call him Moshish. Oh, man.
We need to put it on the site.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, all righty. Well, thank you so much for that piece of information. We're going to open up the lines now and take take some other callers here. You was going to say something, Ms.?
I was just going to say there's references again that refer to Moors as any dark-skinned people, like, so just correlating that with what he mentioned about the copper complexion, for somebody to say you can't be a Moor unless you're in the temple, like it was Moors that established the temple, not the temple that established Moors, because somebody mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
The call,
as far as naturalization, like it goes back into that artificial jurisdiction of that USA thing, not for anything, but they weren't always here. So
there's a one-liner for that. There's a one-liner to always remember. It's the cause that creates the institution, not the institutions that create the cause. And the cause
any institution.
Yep.
Yep, that's all I wanted to say.
So we like to think that puts into that stuff, but people are out there fighting real hard, to get you to abandon your ancestral estate, do all kinds of birth certificate redemptions, which is fraud. It was fraud from its inception. Yeah, Cujo, what you got to say about that?
Fraud.
Well, I'll say a little bit more than that. Because, the prophet said, if I can just get you to thinking, you would mess around and accidentally free yourself. I'm ad-libbing. He said, if I can just get you to thinking, you'd free yourself. But I'm saying, if you would just think, you would mess around and accidentally free yourself. Because it's all about thinking. That's what it's all about.
Man is mind. That's why, because man is mind.
Exactly. But let's look at this birthright process, because one of the processes that I have heard of, and I heard about this back in 2008 when Europeans was doing it hot and heavy, trying to steal our ancestral estate. Now it ain't working for them, so they threw it out into the internet. Okay, it ain't working for us. Let's throw it out there. But let's think about this now. They tell you this process, a portion of this process says you need to go to the county and get a certified copy of your long birth certificate. Then you need to take this copy to the notary and have the notary notarize it. Now, today, in order for you to get the notary to notarize that you are the person on that document, you must have some instruments that also affirm that you are that fiction on that document. That's generally like a driver's license, a social security card, or a state identification card. So now you pull out all of these fictitious void instruments to affirm that you are the person that you've been saying you're not on this birth certificate, and you get it notarized. Then you take it to the Secretary of the State locally, and you go through the same process, and then you go take it to the United States Secretary of State, and you get them to apostille it. Now, the county corporation where you initially got that birth record from, that B-E-R-T-H, even though it says B-I-R-T-H, because you can't, they're talking about a fiction, but you went and got that document. And from a county corporation, they're not government. Did you do your homework? They're not government. They are incorporated. They have a charter. And the first couple of, either the first, second, or third article of the charter says that they incorporated the inhabitants. It says it right in there. So you affirmed, and you affirmed using that document that you are a fiction, and then you produced fictitious instruments to further affirm that you are a fiction, and then you went two more places. You know, 3 is a charm, 3 is a magic number. You in 3 places, you had 3 times. You know, Yahshua said, the cock will crow 3 times and you'll deny me. Well, guess what? The cock crowed 3 times and you denied yourself 3 times. You denied yourself your ancestral estate. You abandoned it. And for what? Worthless pieces of paper. But when the prophet said you are rich, you are simply rich, did you really think he was talking about Federal Reserve notes?
Right.
Just to tie something in, that's how they were able to get Malachi York, because he had corporate documents and the name Malachi York. If he's a Moor, well, how come his rights not reserved on that?
Right.
How come he has all these contracts out there with the signature of Malachi York on it that we know is his stuff that he uses?
It was never refunded. His
rights aren't reserved on it. So then he's admitting to be that corporate fiction. And if he's the corporate fiction, then they have jurisdiction to go tear down pyramids and all that.
But yeah.
You know, even though I'm not saying the case wasn't messed up and they didn't set him up and all that, but I'm saying let's look at the other side of it.
Yeah. And then it's supposed consul, right? No, I'm saying, I want you to finish, but I'm saying with that is if there was, or he had, consul or minister, then they would know the law, because it's right there in Article 3, regarding jurisdictions of ministers.
Right.
So you had ministers that didn't know the law. That's why they couldn't help them.
Indeed.
Yeah. But you know, much of Malachi York's downfall was his own, because he was absolutely running with his lower self. Absolutely. And you know, that's why the prophet said, draw a circle around your passions and square up your conduct. Because if you don't, that lower self energy will have you running.
And you're absolutely correct. But didn't we speak with someone yesterday or the day before something? And when you mentioned this redemption program, they done stepped it up, and the person said, "Oh no, we have the right redemption program." And something about, because when it's all done, they're going to come and they're going to check your DNA, and you're going to be redeemed. Now, that is like if anybody's out there doing that, what you just did was made yourself a subject by getting involved in thinking that some person, group, or whatever that is that they're dealing with is going to redeem them. So if you're giving up your blood to them, you know, so they can check your DNA or whatever like that, because all blood goes back to the one sister, the one mother. That is it. That's why the prophet said, one mother's breast has given you stuff. So it really doesn't matter about what type of blood you have. It all comes from the one.
That's right.
Family. Wow, man.
That's right.
And if I can add on to that, right, if I can, when they say they're going to be redeemed, and just looking at the message that Prophet Noble Dry Leaf did leave us, in chapter 1, it mentions how you will be fully redeemed, right, in chapter 1, by the things you suffer on the plane. So, I mean, I don't know what they think their salvation and redemption is. You know, I don't comprehend it personally. I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, many of the people, they really think that their redemption, and it's crazy to say this, but I'm going to put it out there because that's what they're chasing after. They really think that their redemption is some Federal Reserve notes.
Yeah.
They really do. You're selling yourself out not even for gold or silver, but worthless pieces of paper.
Right. But my point for bringing that up was on the other side, or not on the other side, connected with it is, if you're doing anything like that, whoever is leading you to do that, they're actually quietly making you a subject of something other than what you really are, and taking you away from your status and your ancestral estate. And the only reason you're doing that, besides running after the FRN notes, like you said, is because you have no knowledge of who you are, and that this is your national domicile, your ancestral estate, period. That's it. So you're looking to be redeemed somewhere else.
Mhm. Yeah, because this is all about really. You know what? I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to get to these callers. If you watch that movie Lucy, now don't just color Lucy Asiatic, okay? All right, and and look at the message that's in the movie, because if you watch that movie Lucy, they're telling you that, look, this is not about you trying to get houses, cars, Federal Reserve notes, all bling-blinged out. This is not what that's about. This is about you, elevating yourself to your higher self. And the higher you go, you start to what? Disappear. Because at your most pure, the most basic element and the purest element is energy. And when we look at ourselves and our surroundings and we see these things, that is energy formed. How did it form? By the thoughts of all men. Because man is mind, and it is through the thoughts of man that things are manifested. So when you watch the movie Lucy, it's basically telling you, well, you know what? Hey, if I find myself if I discipline myself, because we are so not disciplined, we are like out of control children. Our passions rule us, and that's why these Europeans got all of these distractions out here, stupid crap like love and hip hop, and modern Europeans, and now we following behind them because stupid stuff, stupid. That's not what this is about. This is about you realizing that you are a spiritual being. You came here to find yourself, to elevate yourself back to that higher spiritual altitude where you can exist in nothing but peace and love. That's it. And it ain't by happenstance.
Right.
That's what we're here for. So, and that's actually the example that the prophet left us. That's why his title is Ali, because he was able to manifest that. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, but he got killed. Come on now. Read prophecies and statements and tell me that he got killed. He said, I can do more on the other side. And let me just throw in Yahshua, because prophet is Yahshua come back. He said that Yahshua said, I gotta show you how to. He showed you how to bring the dead back to life. He showed you how to turn the loaves and fishes into a multitude that would feed everybody. He showed you how to manifest on a daily basis. And what happened? When Peter or Paul or James had a problem, they came running to Jesus. I need you to do this for me. And he was like, well, I just showed you half an hour ago how to do it. You can do it.
Right.
Prophet said the same thing. Every time there was a problem, what happened? I need you to come do this for me. So what they say, you know what? It's time for me to go. Because as long as I'm here, you're going to come and tell me, ask me to do this, and you're never going to try and do it yourself. So I'm out of here.
Right.
I hear you laughing at that. What's up?
Bro, y'all are funny tonight. Y'all are funny.
Look, when Lazarus, wasn't Lazarus dead?
Yeah.
She was like, what are you talking about? I showed you how to bring the life yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to come and do this one more time.
One more again.
Pay attention and take notes. Everybody show up with no pen and no paper.
Right.
No law dictionaries, no etymology dictionaries, no unabridged dictionaries, nothing.
We're the same people on the same lesson, just like in the Matrix. I think it was 2 or 3, where he finally gets to meet the computer guy. And the computer guy shows him the screen where he came back like 6 times and finally made it into the computer booth. We got to make it into the computer booth so we can be at the control. And the computer booth is your brain. Like Prophet said, study, and think, and you will accidentally free yourself. Trust and believe.
Islam.
Absolutely. That's where it's all at. Workshop
Islam.
of the mind.
Let's take some of these callers because this has been a fun call. All righty. Caller 910-538. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim. Islam. All right. They sound like they listening at work. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Caller 712. Yeah, caller 712-204. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Sarah Marka Heru, El, Islam, Northwest of Mexico.
Islam.
Man, I just want to say that this is y'all having a beautiful conversation. The energy is high, and I give honor to you, Moors, for opening up the gates of information to those of us students who was looking for the right teachers, you know, and the right ones with hearts to do the right thing and get the information and not try to sell it to you, et cetera. You know what I mean?
We know what you mean.
Right.
We know.
I wanted to say something real quick. I'm looking at Surah 2 here in the Quran here, not necessarily Circle 7, but I'm just using this as an example. It says, and do not cover truth with falsehood, and do not hide the truth when you know it. I heard Brother Mizraim, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, earlier state that Europeans have not always been here, or Caucasians, or these people who we having this discussion about have not always been here. You know, when we get to talking about these artificial general assemblies and these corporations and just how Caucasians like to function on an artificial level, I must not hold back the truth when we get into the science of the genetic engineering of that particular group of people that we talking about. You know, we have to, and I heard somebody else say that Islam, I think we was going in on how Islam has gave many things to the world, like algebra and the compass and medical advances. Well, also, scientifically, we know that these people are genetically engineered, and they say, you know, they destiny is humiliation because, you know, we have the truth on our side. We don't just say love, truth, peace, and freedom and justice for no reason. And I see this just being something that they can't handle, and I just wanted to, you know, throw that topic out there because I know that's a discussion we need to have because that'll help us out a lot when it comes to placing a European or Caucasian or a subject in their places because you actually, and this even explains why the Moors had to come and educate you and do all this is because you was genetically engineered. We could recreate a body, but we can't recreate melanin. I'm sorry. We can't do that. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you just had to be helped out by us, and you in a servitude naturally. It's just you never gonna get out of it, bro. You know the sun is beaming down on them, and it ain't in a good way. And I just wanted to mention also, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw that Noble Drew Ali was an Egypt adept. So that's, and you know I've been in this consciousness for a minute, you know, and I'm loving it. But at the same time, I'm all over the place. So it's like me having a deep understanding or reverence for Kemet or Egypt or Hekakata. I mean, that's helping me understand my Moorish paradigm, you know, what's going on with this Moorish nationality. And real quick, last thing I'm going to say is that I was working with some people from the continent, from Akebuland or Africa or whatever you want to call it. And I was noticing how they have their nationalities. You know, they Somalian or they like Kenyan or they from Ethiopia or Kush. And so when we say, you know, when we clicking up with Morocco like that, that give us a connection with everything that's going on in the planet, really, because we saying that we indigenous, aboriginal too, and that go outside of just being black or African American, you know.
Right. That's what I was getting at when you mentioned them being genetically engineered. That's exactly what it is. That's why we know they were not always here. So that's they're very modern. They're definitely very modern. And you said it the best. You know, you can't recreate melanin in an artificial sense like that. And that's why, you know, we know they definitely not aboriginal, because everything on the planet Earth has melanin, from the grass to the trees, you know. So everything, yeah, that's definitely the biggest sign in the law of nature is right there. And it's not to be harsh on anybody's body or anything like that, but it just is what it is. So,
and so remember we were saying in the beginning too about, you know, I'm quote unquote retarded, right? Don't think that they're, you know, out to lunch, because from a knowledge perspective, they compensate for their lack of melanin. They don't really have a loss not having melanin per se, because their knowledge, what we gave them, how they took what we gave them and digested it for themselves, for what it is for them, they did with it what they willed. Minus the melanin, minus the carbon, because they're retarded, but they're compensated in some way, shape, or form. Just like somebody blind is going to have a higher sense of hearing.
Got you. But what are they? Yeah, but now see, but when we go back to the nature, we know that, and they compensated for that too. That the sun, by this being we being in this solar system, the sun actually will destroy them. That's why, you know, when you go into the scriptures, you have what they call leprosy, or what we call melanoma today, or skin disease, or sun cancer, or melanin spots, or whatever. And that also explains why, you know, we would trust it. Well, first of all, this conversation about them is something that we really need to have a dialogue on, or a blog demonstration on. It's just that it's real heavy in that that's one of the things that took a long time to study, to really get set that, yeah, this is what's really going on. This is what's really happening. But the sun destroys them because they're not natural here. This also will help us to understand why they are always going around colonizing, because they are not aboriginal and indigenous to none of the land, and that includes Europe. We ceded them, Queen Europa, we ceded them a portion of the land, and we took them over in Europe where the sun wasn't as harsh. This is some of the history you have to know. So you're right. They're not, and I remember when I was in class with Queen Europa, she said, don't think they're stupid. They're not stupid, and that's what you're saying. They're not stupid at all. They're very, very smart to have devised such a plan as they have done with the Reconstruction and all of that, where we are as dumbed down as we are about what's really going on. So, you know.
Right. Indeed.
Yes, Mom. And can I say one more thing real quick? If I may have permission. In doing what Noble Drew Ali suggested, study. I was in the library in the Corporation of Nebraska, and I just happened to be looking around, and I looked at a book called History of Nebraska, and I opened it up, and like the first couple pages, the words Moor popped out at me, and it was a story about some, like y'all was saying earlier, some European-ish type name, some guy called Stephen the Moor. His really was Estebancio or something like that, but it was around 1500, and they was talking about that this Moor came over here and, you know, was exploring and whatnot. So I just thought I'd share that and let you know that, you know, they can't hide it in the book. You're looking at them.
I'm glad you said that, brother. And the reason I am is because just today I think there was something that went down where a brother was saying we're not Moors. This is a modern name that was applied to the subject, of which we are not the subject. And you can't go past the 1900s and find any first-person address of Moor or whatever. So I'm glad you brought that up this evening, because that person only shows that they didn't do any studies at all. because the treaty itself was in 1700 and it mentions Moors. So So we just have to really study so that when people tell us crazy things like that, and just you say what you just said, and we all have studied stuff, beyond that. Even Othello the Moor, you know what I mean? The whole bit, it's all right there.
Right, that's simply just a straight lack of study. Like, that's all that statement comes from.
Yes.
You know? I mean, but it is no but to that. Like, if you study and you know Moors, we were always all over the planet. And that's verifiable. Like, let's look at the old, that so-called Olmec head, and that's right there for you.
Yes.
Exactly. But even look at the play Othello, where they reference the Moor. Now, that was written by Shakespeare. In order for him to write something referencing a Moor, there had to be a Moor somewhere.
It was a Moor himself. Exactly. The point you're making, exactly. That was written way back when, so whoever says clearly just doesn't study.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all in.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying,
I was
it's in
just
a lot of
thank the brother for his call and comment.
In the modern Britons.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Race Volume 1, 2, and 3, all of it is right there.
Yes.
Cool.
Mhm.
Yes. All right, Islam. All right.
We are the Moors, mighty Moors. Everywhere we go, everybody asks who we are and where we come from. I'm thinking right now. I hope it's listening. All right.
All right. Caller 708-800. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Maxim.
Hello.
Peace.
Hey, peace. Hey, my name is Animus RVBey, and
no, it's not.
From Northwestern.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Your appellation is name represents the corporation.
Yes, Christian.
You're true. You're right about that.
Right.
I just wanted to bring up a couple topics. First off, I'm hearing talking. Well, I hear talk about the Moors and everything that's going on. I just wanted to say, why aren't we talking about the Religious Corporation Act that Noble Drew Ali set up? And also, I wanted to bring up the fact that we do have Moors that are locked up or that's being kidnapped. How about we send letters to leaders of all the nations just to send notice of what's actually going on over here? Because
that's what we do.
Hello.
That's what we do. We need help. Would you like to assist?
Oh, absolutely. That's
all right, then.
That's why I'm listening.
That's what we do. It's only one of us and billions or millions of other Moors that are in situations. I mean, that's why we have these blog talk radio shows, so that we can give information to people, so together we can all work to get our family released from these prisons.
I'd like to ask him a question and put it on the table, and maybe we can comment on it. What makes you think that we don't talk about the religious affidavit that the prophet put in accordance with the Republic of Illinois at that time, with the laws of the Republic of Illinois? I wonder what makes you think that, because I just want to say this. When we think of religion, when we think of religion, sometimes people don't really know what that really is and why he did that, saying that the door to religious freedom opens both ways, and that is in accordance with Article 1 of the Constitution, actually. So I was just asking that question because I know there's some comments that can be made regarding that, if you would explain what makes you think that we don't talk about it.
Well, it's not that I don't think you don't talk about it. I just think it's not emphasized enough, about what he actually did. He created a state, and I just wanted to make sure, or,
state?
Islam.
Well, basically, body politics.
Now, because you said we don't mention that religious corporation act. I say this though, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said, "Help me bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government." I know we personally emphasize the First Amendment of the American Constitution, or the First Bill of Rights. Like, he said, go back to that ancient state of mind of your foremothers and forefathers. Like, that was what he advised that we did. And in doing that, we know that our rights and our religious freedom supersedes, any act. I'm just saying, all due respect, because when you enforce the Constitution, which is the law of the land, your constitutional right, your constitutional protection of religious freedom is secured right there. So, we definitely go in. And then when you look at what he said, what is our holy day? Question 22 and 23 of the 101s is Friday. Why? Because it was the first day man was formed in flesh, in the day he departed from the flesh. Then you look at Act 2, and he mentions, Friday being a holy day for Muslims all over the world. That, if you comprehend the dominion, the divine dominion that goes with that information right there, you definitely on the religious freedom as well.
And can I add this? I have to add this at this juncture. A lot of times, brother, people have said, and I've heard them say over the years, that, we're over here doing the religious side, and you guys over there are doing the national side. And I tell you that the prophet didn't say that. He said this is a divine and national. Did not at all separate the two. So conversely, people would ask the question for those people who think they're doing the religious side, which really is the law out of Article 1, religious freedom. Why do they seem to miss the civic side? Because, as you may know, and I don't know if you do or you don't, but let's put it on the table, Prophet Noble Drew Ali started out, as we know, recorded, in 1913. For 15 years, he started out as a civic association. And for 15 years, he did civic. And that is still what the mission is to bring the people to be better citizens, right? And uplift fallen humanity. All right? There it is right there. They are not separated. Now, in 1928, when he made this religious affidavit that you're speaking of, it was 1 year of his life being here that he did that, and he did that for the reasons we just gave you, because the door to religious freedom opens both ways. So when he did that, he didn't shut down the civic portion. A lot of people, especially those who have infiltrated his work, think that he changed to a religious association or corporation or whatever, and that is just not true. How do you know? You go to the records where he did it, and it does not say, I repeat, it does not say that he changed the name. It says that it was adopted. So when you see adopted, it has no inference to the fact that the civic association that he had initiated ended. It's just that he added unto it the religious affidavit, all right? That's what he did. Now, infiltrators who really don't understand what religion is, or who knows that the people don't understand what true religion is at all, they have the people thinking that the prophet has been a religious organization for the understanding of what religion is because of that affidavit ever since he started, and they have totally quashed any of his civic work. So the question that you put on the table should really be brought back the other way, because those who have studied his work are aware that he did civics for 15 years out of the 16, and they are also aware that the religious affidavit did not change that at all. It was an adoption. So I say to you, be real careful about that, and I hope that it helps with people having a better understanding of what he actually did do. And with that, I yield the floor.
Islam. And unfortunately, it is past 11:30, and I didn't get a chance to make the announcement to our Internet listeners. The Internet feed has dropped, so this last hour, if anybody wants to listen to it, they'll have to catch it after 12:30, when the complete episode or broadcast will be available for download. But Islam, brother, I trust that we answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah.
All righty. Peace and love.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, our next caller is caller 214-565. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Mexham.
Melody Bay, Northwest Mexium, Islam family. Nice to hear from you. And nice to hear that y'all are assisting us in helping fallen humanity. But I'd like to tell of an experience that I've had the last couple of days here in what we call Dallas, Texas here.
Near Dallas, Texas,
Yes. Don't mess with Texas. Anyway, I went to register my business under Melody Bay, and I carried my documentation, and they would not accept it because I did not have that on my driver's license.
But you shouldn't have been registering your business with Dallas, Texas.
It's the county clerk's office.
You shouldn't have been doing that. They're not the government. And you don't need to register
what I'm calling to ask you about, yes.
Yes. So we just cut it right to the chase with that. So that's that. They don't have jurisdiction over you doing business. You are the original merchants on the entire planet, and you don't need their permission for you to do business. So you can go on site.
I've been doing it anyway, many years, like 20 years. But
I understand that. Here's the problem. You went in as a bay, and they are a corporation. You are a national. They can't issue. That's why they don't. That's why they're telling you to bring them something that has to do with their jurisdiction and submit to their jurisdiction. They don't have the ability to issue anything to anyone except for other corporations. Period.
Okay. They told me to go and get it notarized by someone, and in order for me to even have the opportunity to even purchase a home, it's looking like I'm not have employment. Okay, so those are the changes.
No. Now are they saying because that you're trying to get you're trying to purchase a home, and they're trying to get some documentation of your finances, and really what they're trying to do is get information that they don't need to be really having via like a tax return, which you don't have, or something from the local county corporation, which they're a corporation, so you don't need to get anything from them. But what you have to recognize is that if you're going through some sort of a real estate agency, they work for the county.
I know.
They're part of the problem.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get you to participate. They're trying to get you into. See, the whole mortgage
The whole mortgage thing is the biggest scam, one of the biggest scams. There's so many going on. The whole mortgage thing is a scam. Yeah, because, see, what happens is, first of all, you got to recognize that structure is on your land.
Okay.
Now, if you don't give them permission to have it on your land, where they going to put it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at it. And then where did the resources come from to make the structure from your land?
From our
that
land.
means that's a part of your ancestral estate. That's your property. But what they do is they will, under threat, duress, and coercion, run people out of their homes. They will then wait, a year, sometimes more, and then they will list it as abandoned.
Yes,
they will list it as abandoned, and the county corporation will claim it. And then the county corporation will get their real estate agent and their county clerk and magistrate, and also, because a lot of people don't know that many of these banks are under the jurisdiction of the county corporations. Currently, the states are trying to take over the banking industry. Now, what's crazy is the states was always supposed to be state banks. That's why they got the national banking laws, which have all been repealed. But so you got the real estate agent, the county clerk, the county corporation clerk. All right, let's be clear. You got the bank, and you got the magistrate, and they will all collude. They will weave a net. They will put a for sale sign up. Now, the question to ask is, do you have permission to sell this ancestral estate? The answer is no. And let's look at this. Are they even selling it for lawful money? No. But they're going to make some innocent bystander come and sign a paper, which becomes a negotiable instrument, which that document is going to get monetized. The signing is what bought the house or took over the house. But then they're going to trick the person into giving them a second monthly installment. That's a second payment. And what they're then going to do is they're going to ask you, do you want a fixed rate or do you want a variable rate? It's all fixed. What difference does it make? Do you want a fixed rate or do you want a variable rate? It's a scam. Because if the mortgage going up doesn't get you, the taxes will. It's all designed to get people in, squeeze as much finance as possible out of them, get them to a place where they're absolutely panicked until they move out in the dead of night and abandon their estate and their investment without question, and then they'll start the whole process all over again. That's a racket.
Yes, it is. I even did the complaint of Aquin on another family property I had. You remember the Aquin and the mortgage, the people against Aquin? I've been dealing with them for about, must have been close to 5 or 6 years or longer on property, and I issued my complaint, and of course they turned my complaint down.
So because number one, it's a complaint. You can't go in with a complaint. You got to go in with the law. Now, and see, many of our people, they do not know. First of all, you declared your nationality. A lot of our people, they don't recognize that in order for you to have access to your ancestral estate, you have to have a nationality and be in line with the family. That's the only way. And inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. Now, a lot of these county corporations, townships, boroughs, cities, they will tell you, oh, yeah, well, we bought that in, 1752, or we bought that in 1894. No, what you did was you got a charter, a grant, what is it? Charter grant. Oh my gosh, what is it? Patent. Deed. Charter grant, patent, deed. Okay. Now, charter grant, patent, deed. They all are the same thing. They're saying that you have interest in, but you don't own it because inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. That's it. And see, a lot of people think they got something, and you can't have what you already had. You just got had. Our people getting had all the time, and we will work 2 and 3 jobs to make that mortgage payment, and the damn location was ours all along.
All along.
Right.
But this is the scam they run, and see, the other thing that we need to recognize is these county corporations, they're the ones running the school. So you can bet they're not going to be giving us the necessary information to get out of this revolving door system that they have set up.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to tell you. That's why we always say you got to study, because if you don't study and you go and you start making noise and you give them you make one slip, because nowadays it only takes one slip because they're so hurting for finance. They're not even letting you get by. The one slip, and they're yanking you in because they need their whole world is about revenue.
Yes.
It ain't about peace, love. It ain't about love, truth, peace, freedom, or justice at all. Their whole world is about how much revenue can I generate. That's it. And they will use their own family to generate revenue if push comes to shove, which is where they're getting into right now, which is why you got all these Europeans, modern Europeans, they trying to get with the Moors, or they trying to be a Moor, because it ain't cool to be a U.S. citizen no more. No more benefits. No more privilege.
Well, they're flipping houses, and people are moving in and out here so quick and fast.
Yeah, it's a revolving door.
Brand new house they're building on our land. The people get it. They tell them they have the program. The people can't finish the program, building and correcting their credit, and then they don't give them the down payment and the closing costs, and they have to move.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's all over Dallas.
Oh, it ain't just Dallas, honey.
I know it's
everywhere.
The country. Yeah, but see,
everywhere.
They're all running from up north down here to the new energy center, which is an old energy center, but still they're building up Dallas, and they're flipping this money and throwing this money, and Moors are really getting the backlash of it.
Well, that's just a temporary thing.
Abandoned buildings. They're also claiming abandoned buildings, as the sister said. That's all that they really do after the people leave them for a so-called foreclosure or whatever it may be, and then they go and they claim the abandoned buildings, and so could you.
Yeah, that's all they do. Their whole setup is about claiming. They put claims in all day long. Right now, while we're on this call, they're out there putting a claim on somebody right now. Trust and believe. Because we don't recognize when they force you off the road and they give you a demand for income, they just put a claim in your hand. But we've been conditioned to believe that, I got a traffic ticket. Yeah, he pulled me over. That says that, okay, I voluntarily got off the road to have a little chit-chat with somebody that I must be familiar with, and they gave me, we exchanged paperwork. That's not what happened, but that's what it sounded like because of our conditioning, when in fact what happened was you were forced off the road by a complete stranger who came up to you, didn't identify themselves, had a gun on their hip, so automatically that's a threat. You're in fear for your life, and they're demanding something from you, and if you don't give it to them, they're going to do some sort of bodily or physical or mental harm to you. This is what these foreigners do all day long, but we've been conditioned to treat it like, okay, I know this guy, and I was speeding. Yep, I was doing 20 miles above the speed limit, and I was wrong. We incriminate ourselves. There's nothing. Look, unless we injured somebody, a flesh and blood being, there has been no crime. And you know what? There's case law that already says you cannot charge somebody for a crime that might have happened.
Right.
And there's one that says that you can't stop people and pull them over and hinder them to see if what they have on them, or to see if they have their driving license, instruments, and stuff like that, because you're not driving anyway. You're traveling, and you have a right to do so.
Right to travel.
Yeah. So, what happens, where we are, say that again?
I appreciate you, and I'll work on it, and what else can I do? I know I've been on there reading many of the writs.
What I would suggest you also look at, sister, is the rights of indigenous people, because they've got articles in there that says, hey, if the Aboriginal indigenous people want their land back, you got to give it up. And the state has to participate. The state has to provide you with the necessary protection to do so. That's right there, sister. I'm telling you, the rights of indigenous people, I know why them damn modern Europeans didn't want to sign that.
That's right.
But it's signed.
Yeah, and in there they mention about self-determination. I was going to say, when you look at that and what freedom is, if you look at it in your law dictionary, for them to say anything about your identity definitely goes against your self-determination.
Self-determination.
Yeah. And that goes. Yeah, that goes with when people say, "Well, they said that I have to have an ID that's issued from the state." No, indigenous people have the, I think it's Article 8, Section 1, or Article 1, Section 8, have the right to self-determination and to determine their own identification, which must be respected.
Yes, I'll read it to you. Right. It's Article. Wait. No, it actually, you know what? It's Article 3. Hold on. I'll read it to you in full. It's not even that long. It's Article 3. Indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. That means, sister, you can do your business and you don't need to register or be licensed with another self-determined group of people.
Oh, well, you know what? There's another one, though, in Part 2 of the Rights of Aboriginal Indigenous People, Article 8, it reiterates. It says indigenous people have the collective and individual right to maintain and develop their distinct identities and characteristics, including the right to identify themselves as indigenous and to be recognized as such. That's in Part 2. That's in Part 2, Article 8.
Yeah, the rights of the indigenous people.
Let's refer you on the site, on the Writs of Freedom page, at the top page, you'll see a little page navigation I added. There's something called a permit. You need to read that. So that, well, it's really not a permit, but it's in lieu of, because you don't need permission, but it's in lieu of that. And if you read that and you really have understanding, and therefore, understanding, overstanding.
Overstanding, yes.
Well, you got to have all three. You have to have understanding, you have to have overstanding, and then you can stand under that which you need to be standing under, not under that which you don't need to be standing under, because you understand it. All right, which is correct jurisdiction. So with that, if you read that and you get that, then you'll understand how you're supposed to be walking. And when you have this knowledge from within, it emanates to the without. And then as you walk, you are what it is that you know, and then you know exactly what to say in response to someone saying something, well, we can't accept that, or whatever like that. You know what to say because you have that knowledge. All right, of course, in an intelligent tone,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote that down. Go to the Writs page, on the Writs Freedom page on RVBey.
Yes, Writs of Freedom. Writs of Freedom page.
Okay.
And at the top, I added a page navigation to find stuff. There's so much stuff on there. There's so much stuff that's all in there, like, Prego is in there. So I added a top page navigation, not the left site navigation, not the left side, which is the site of each, the site navigation for different pages. But I added a navigation for the page that you're on, the stuff that's on that. And you'll find it. It says, I think it says permit or something like that. Yeah, you'll see it. It's on that page. Read that. And then
I will.
Understanding. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You are most welcome.
And then let's say this to the sister as well. Then after you do, when you have that understanding, you'll begin to know what you do, what you need to tell them, and what you don't need to tell them. You'll know that what you don't need to go to them to ask for. As Annie E was saying earlier, people know that we'll put them on notice, and then people say, well, I put them on. I sent my red, I sent this, but they never answered. Well, because they're not supposed to answer. You know what I'm saying? You just give them lawful notice on certain things. But in your case, you don't have to give them anything. You don't have to, like a lot of people will get this information, right? This is very crucial. Then they'll go to these modern Europeans, and then they'll expect these modern Europeans to do something, or they're still looking for permission and authority from them. And that's wrong. You don't need their authority.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Self-determination, international law.
Yep. All righty.
Also with the housing, where when you've lost property and you want to get that property back, would that also be in the Writs of Freedom page also?
Well, you should read the Mortgage Myths page to have a better understanding of that. And then once you read the Mortgage Myths page, and then once you get understanding of who you are and what's going on, you'll automatically know what you need to do.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then look up something called peaceable possession, and that's that. You'll get it all.
Possession.
Yep. Then once you do that, and you get it straight within yourself, and you'll feel it within your own soul. Then you'll know what you need to do.
Okay.
And you know what else you can do? If you happen to have the mortgage or deed to that property that you think you lost, because you didn't lose it.
Right.
If you happen to have it, what I would do is make a copy of it and then go through it and look up all of the words that you are not familiar with and look up some that you think you're familiar with. And what you're going to find is right in those documents is the answer to the question you got in your head.
Okay.
Right. Read the Mortgage Myth page also.
Okay. Now, and what I would say purchasing our home.
No.
Yeah. Because here they have what it is called a lease-to-buy program.
Oh, they got all kinds of
Yeah, and
they got a lot.
Yeah, they have a lot of those.
All these different programs. They also have the homestead program where you can go buy some dilapidated so-called property for $1 and, you know, fix it up and all of that. It's all designed because, see, they can't look. You're dealing with a corporation. The corporation is dead. It cannot have any kind of credit or movement of energy unless they trick the people into giving up their energy to it. And the way they do that is through signature, void contract, void instruments. I mean, but the majority of the people don't know that they're void contracts and void instruments. So they're stealing our energy all day long because we don't have enough information to look at these things and recognize, wait a minute, are you trying to steal my energy? We got to negotiate better for that.
Yeah. I overstand.
All righty.
Well, Asante Sana, thank you so much, and I'm finna do my study.
All right now.
And thank you, family.
All right. Peace and love. All right. Caller 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation and Northwest Mexico.
This is Abdul Malik Sabir Shakur Bey. In Northwest Mexico. Just got through talking with my wife. We're studying, and things are coming up on us, and we have no one but RVBey publication, and we sure do appreciate and giving a shout out to Anita, Mishram Air, Grand Cujo, and also the Grand Master Tariq Bey. Islam. Islam. Peace. It is indeed a pleasure. It is indeed a pleasure to talk to y'all. And I was on the website, and what my wife was just got to talking about, Article 6, all debts and contracts and engagement entered into before the adoption of the Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under the Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state. Yes. The contrary, notwithstanding. And I understanding that.
It's long.
Whatever they do now and then, as ab initio is a then and now, what was then, we were. This is our land. We stand upon that. Whatever they done did, we stand upon that because this, under the Constitution and even the Confederation, this is our land. The 35 more than 20 Europeans. This is a contract. We must believe this in our heart and stand upon it because our people in the servitude and the slave-initiated, preparated, and perpetuated mind have been instilled upon us, the weakness and the suffering. And you can look across the nation and see the insanity. You see the indignation of our Moors and our Moabites, that we're at such a level. But thank God for the prophet, that Allah raised him up, that he could bring and give the light. Come, all you Asiatics, and learn of your nationality. Learn about who you are. We're learning about who we are, and we're standing. This, we know our flag is red with a green star pointed upright in the center. RVBey publication is a beacon for the Moors and Moabites throughout America and the adjoining islands of Mexium. And we give salute and we give praises, and you continue be the forefront and the light, regardless how the darkness of the so-called enemy may try to prevail, but they won't, because it has been signed by President Barack Obama, the rights of the indigenous people, the rights of the indigenous child. Our rights have been preserved. The door has been opened. Let us stand, shed the fear off, and raise up and get into study, and stand. Islam. Islam. Islam.
Islam, noble. Indeed.
Indeed.
Right. Thank you so much for your call.
Islam.
All right. That's Islam, brother.
All right, caller 908-922. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Mexum.
Peace, Moors.
Peace.
I'm G, calling from Northwest Mexum. I was called on the Sons of Allah about a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about exactly what everybody was just talking about now, about the mortgages and foreclosures, and I was having an incident, and I'm in a situation, and somebody was supposed to get back to me about nationalizing and trying to combat these people, these foreigners.
Are you the one that it was you and your brother or something like that, and they got your brother and you were in another location that he may have listed or something like that? Is that who you are?
No.
No, I see his number right here. I see your number. You said Brooklyn G.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Yeah, pardon, I wasn't able to get to you or call you or reach out. But you know, I'm pretty sure you study on RVBey publications, right?
Yes.
All right, sure. Also, I was suggesting grabbing, and I think I did when you called, to look at that Mortgage Smith page. You read that, right?
Yes, son, and I downloaded the conveyance letter.
Indeed.
But like I said, a lot of things I wasn't really understanding. I know that's definitely the main key to making sure things are carried out right spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
But I just definitely need a hand on, if somebody could reach out. Time is short, and a lot of things I know I just understand spiritually, and I know this is the right and true way in any type of recourse and remedy that I know I would have. I just know and feel that in my heart.
Right. I don't remember all the circumstances of your situation, but it was relative to a mortgage or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you didn't declare your nationality yet.
Right. And I know that's what it was saying on the page, that's what needed to be done. And we were talking about, I was on maybe a couple weeks before that, and talking about how A lot of people were thinking that they had to go through some type of temple to, to claim their nationality and things like that. And that's what I was going back and forth with for years and years, not knowing exactly how to do it and everything.
If you look on RVBeypublications.com, the national identification page, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's number 13. Am I right?
That would be the national identification page, section 13 is for the sealing of your name correction and your judicial notice and proclamation that you'll end up putting 7 different locations on lawful notice of. The application for the card itself is at the very bottom of that page, encouraging to read the entire page.
Okay.
If you have them. All right.
Right.
But you stressed out understanding.
Did you ever read those proclamations, that name correction proclamation? Did you notice?
No, I haven't in full, no.
All right. That's exactly where you want to start, bro. Like, when you go back on the site, Writs of Freedom, and scroll down. Yeah. Okay. Scroll down till you see that you did the name correction.
You doesn't have to scroll down. It's right on the top of the page now, the top navigation. It'll say name correction and judicial notice. Right. He just clicks it and it'll take it right to him.
Okay.
Oh, right. You can, yes, there you go. Yeah, it's a link. All the links are at the top. Pardon me. So you can look for the Writs of Freedom there. And if I was you, in the meantime, study that, because everything is there already. Just study that and then get the feel of it.
Yeah, I definitely see, because, they sent out, paperwork and everything is going through, a writ of possession into where they basically traded places with me.
Yeah, but see, that's why you have to forever remain in your own proper person, because when you look at our lineal descent and our nationality, our ancestors, we are the true possessors. So they're trying to take possession, but it's specifically when it comes to Europeans, anymore has a right of being or claim of being a true possessor that supersedes any European claim on the land. That's just what it is. But you have to know that, and you always have the right of possession, knowing you're the true possessor. That's really what it is.
Okay.
And so essentially, you have to ask if your claim is higher than theirs, and they can't prove that they own it because, as you said earlier, they're just dealing with corporate contracts, deeds, patents. They don't have any rights to the land or possession of dominion over. They're just creating these fictions and these programs and these different mortgages and all kinds of things like that. But your claim is higher.
And then they conspire with the sheriff, do a sheriff sale, and then bought the property through the sheriff sale.
That's not a sheriff. The sheriff is obligated to protect the people. So if he's protecting the corporation, that's the police.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and everything was signed off by him, by the county sheriff.
Yeah, that's the county police.
Right.
He's an imposter.
Yeah, and when you know your nationality, you know that you have to be a Moor in origin, a true Moroccan American, to be a Sharif.
Yeah, a Sharif, exactly.
They're just taking the title, just like they call themselves Americans and they're not. They call themselves sheriffs and they are not, because that's a national title. So you have to see them for who they are, but it starts with seeing yourself for who you are.
Yeah, because somebody came by maybe about a month and a half ago first, saying that they were from a real estate agency representing the bank, and I asked them for their delegation of authority and their nationality, and they said, I was just coming and maybe to buy you out, or give you enough money so you can have security to move and things like that. But you asking me if I'm the owner of the house, and I said yes. But then you're talking about you represent the bank owner. So I'm like, okay, well, which one is it? Am I the owner or is the bank owner? And then that's when I started getting these letters, and then I got the sheriff's sale and the writ of possession. All that stuff just started coming in right after I asked the guy these questions.
Right, but see, what it was is they, ever since, really all along, but with the mortgage business, that whole thing collapsed, and a lot of people who were in the mortgage business who made finance off of that as a living, they knew what had really happened, and so they knew that the people didn't know, and so they began going around and fishing to see who's in the house and like that, because they want to just really claim it. If you didn't answer they want to claim. Some people don't answer the door. They know they can claim it. They can make their false claim, and then they collude to sell it with everybody, the insurance company, the mortgage broker, the title company, all that kind of stuff. And so what they also did is they went around to people, and they knew that as soon as someone got the first notice of a notice to foreclose, not a foreclosure, but a notice to do so,
right,
you were ready to move. So these people in that business would come in all, dressed with their, like they're all professional and stuff like that, and they had some claim, and they would know that the person was going to move, so they would give you finance, right, to help you move, because all they're going to do is take a claim to the house that they know that the people are not in the right mindset to do.
Right. So now a letter came from some corporation in California, and it said on the top title transfer or something like that, and now the mortgage company's name is written not in all capitals, but is written regularly, but it has my quote unquote address on it, as if they're getting mail here now.
All right, so they just came over and gangstered. They just did gangster life.
And then they said, in January, it was going to be, they were going to come, and also on the envelope it said that this is not a government approved letter.
There you go.
That's funny.
And I was like, wow. I said they put it in my face blatantly, but I was like, I can't. How do I combat this? And they're putting it in my face blatantly, but how do I stop this?
Well, you would have responded to anything that they put in writing to you. You would have looked at it and responded back, because what it is it takes, like if they send something and you don't respond, it takes it to the next level in law, because it means that you agree. So I don't know where they are with it, and if you didn't respond to anything and you're a proper person, and then, basically like, who the heck are they? They can't prove that they own the place because they don't. But if you didn't respond, it's assumed that.
Target Red Card now has new benefits you'll love. Save 5% every day, plus get exclusive extras. Apply for a Red Card debit or credit card now and save on, saver. Some restrictions.